So hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when you're listening to this presentation. So my name is Victor, and I'm going to be your anchor for this training. So the goal of this training on the channel is to help you understand UI UX design. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. You can also ask questions in the comment sections. If you are taking this training, either as part of our students in our physical classes or remote classes, or you're an undergraduate running our campus hub program, or you're a couple trying to run your digital training program, or you are part of the scholarship program we have for PWDs. So you just listen, you could take notes. When you get into the training room, you can ask any questions you have, or you just ask in the comment section. Okay, so this is module 1. We have some modules for the product design or the UI UX design. Now we want to understand in theory the concept of UI UX design. Then we'll also start looking at how to use tools to like design and develop products, develop solutions. Now, in Module 1, we're going to be looking at Introduction to UI UX Design. We're going to look at the basic principles. Now, you have several kinds of designs. So you want to make sure that the design you are developing makes a whole lot of sense. So you're going to see what the process is like also for you to do design. So I want to understand those basic principles that should guide how you should do your designs. Then we're going to be looking at Figma XD and some other little side tools that we can use to actually do our designs. And we should also understand that in this introductory class, we're going to be looking at user needs. As a designer, you don't just design what you wish like or what you feel like designing. You need to solve a problem. So designers solve business problems. Designers solve product problems. Designers try to deliver solutions through their designs. Now, researching user needs and behavior. So you need to look at, take for instance, if it's a mobile app, if it's a website, if it's a solution, if it's a product, whatever you're trying to make, whatever you're trying to design, you need to look at what your users need, what those needs are, what are their behaviors, even for the different age groups, for the different personas, for the different kind of classes of persons. What a young guy or young lady between the age of 18 to 30, it's not what an elderly person or a senior citizen between, let's say, 55 to like 80 is going to need in terms of how they are going to behave, how they are going to navigate a solution or an app or a product. So there is need for you to understand how to research, how to conduct those surveys, and translate them into solutions to solve those needs. Now let's look at what product design is. So product design is a practical process of inventing, developing useful, visual, appealing products that enhances lives. So you're going to see that there are some products that are very, very difficult for you to use them. So they are not enhancing lives. There are some solutions that don't actually solve problems. They call them solutions, but they don't actually solve problems. So in product design, we're looking at how do we invent, how do we develop? So that's why product designers are critical thinkers. Product designers are persons that can be patient enough, that can create something unique, something that is going to solve a particular problem. Product designers are not known to just copy-paste. Product designers are not known to just make something out of the breeze. No, they tend to look at what the problem is, then they do some research, then they do some learnings, then they see, then they see how to put all of these things together to now enhance the lives of their users. Now, you might be hearing the word UI, UX. So what's the difference? This nomenclature, it's an acronym for user experience, UX experience. Experience is actually EXPERIENC. But for short, so we say UX, so that's user experience. then we say UI, user interface. Now, what's the difference? So if you are going to develop a mobile app, if you're going to develop a website, if you're going to design a book, if you're going to design a magazine, if you're going to design branding for a project, it follows through a process. One of the first thing you want to do is to do the UI, then before you move over to do the UX, or you research the kind of experience you want the persons to have, then you now develop the user interface for that. Now, let's try to differentiate between both of them. Now, they have overlapping skill sets that you need to know to be able to deploy them, but they are pretty different. So that's why you learn them slightly differently. So let's start with UI. When you say user interface, take for instance, if you see a, let's say, if you see this is an app, for instance. I think this app is to shop. So you come into the app, you browse flowers, you get all of this. Then you see each of the flowers, you add to cart, then maybe you check out. You see this process is what we call the particular experience the person is going to get. But before you can go through this process, you have to first design the interfaces, right? You have to design the layout. You have to design the images, the icons, the types, the fonts. You have to do those designs. So the design is what we call UI. The experience the person is going to get out of the design is what you call user experience. So they all go hand in hand. You cannot talk about UI without talking about UX. So in UI, we're talking about the design, we're talking about the color, we're talking about the visual graphics, we're talking about composition, we're talking about typography. So what type of font, what icons, what all of those stuff. So that's what you call user interface. So that's what makes up the UI. If you see this page I'm looking at right now, my UI is these fonts I have here, these images, sorry, this image and this text and all of that. The experience is, if I have this background as white, what kind of experience do I have? What kind of experience do you have for someone that have maybe an eye issue, or maybe uses glasses? Can the person see properly? Can the person be able to differentiate the colors? It's experience that will make a designer to ensure that there's a contrast between what you have here. You see this black, that's what you're seeing here. And you see this, what is it called? You see this yellow kind of color, that's what you're seeing here. You see this black, it's what you're seeing here. You see this yellow, it's what you're seeing here. So you have some kind of balance. You have some kind of contrast between the left and the right. You have symmetry. So symmetry, these are properties. We're going to look at them later on. So these are properties that ensure that the user have a good experience. If I have, let's say, this dark orange, let's say this interaction, the text font is dark orange, and this guy is white, it is going to be difficult for me to see it. Yes, the text is okay, the visuals are okay, the layout, the symmetry is okay, but it does not connote a good experience. It's going to be difficult, it's going to be hard. That's why you see architects, for instance, when they design a building, they just design a building. They look at the experience that the users. I was in a hospital a few weeks ago, just last week, and I found that, and you see that in most buildings, modern buildings, they design for experience that the users are going to have using that facility. They want to design for persons with disabilities. They want to design for persons that are going to be, let's say, if you need to wheel in let's say a hospital bed, if a car needs to drive into the emergency ward, designed for all of those different kind of experience, because people will need to have different experience using that facility. That is what you see in design. So you don't just design. So you look at the visual design, the colors, all of that. Then in experience, we're looking at what kind of interaction are you going to have. Take, for instance, see the interaction between me clicking on browsing color. So you call this prototyping actually. When you click on browse color, you get to the next screen. So what kind of screen do you see? What's interaction between each of the elements you have in your design? And how do you navigate through the different pages? Also, how do you prototype? So this is what you call like a prototype. So let me just click on, that's one of the things Figma helps you to do, to prototype. If I click on explore, you see in prototyping, we're looking at how we're able to build interactive screens between here to here, from here to here, from here to here. How does the user flow? That's why you see that you have some nice websites that are very nice, websites that are very cool. But what you see is that it's difficult for you to look for something. The flow is difficult. So you click on the menu, you're looking for something, you just shut it down and look for another website. It then means that you're having a bad experience because of the flow, right? The information architecture has to do with the structure. You see, I talked about architecture a while ago. So now I'm talking about information architecture. So information architecture has to do with text, right? So how do we plan the layout of the content? So how do we lay out the menus, the sub-menus, how are information being structured in a form that is going to be easy to get something, easy to navigate something, easy to look up something and get what you're looking for. Now look at this site. So this is what you call transition. So if I go to shop, I should expect, and designers are known to design for intuition, so that people can intuitively get something without having to do a lot of thinking. So if you, sorry, if you design something and I have to spend a whole lot of time trying to look for that thing, then you did not design for a good experience. So you're going to put yourself in the shoe of the user. You're going to also research the needs of the users. You now come up with an excellent design that is going to depict a very clean transition from point A to point B. So in Figma, for instance, you can do prototyping. You can create the different designs. Take, for instance, this is a design. This is a design. This is a design. This is a design. So you can have another design for the checkout page. You can have another design for the payment. You can have a last design for the thank you for purchasing with us. So those are 4 or 5 designs. But what you're trying to test now is how each of the designs connect to each other. And that's what you call prototyping, right? So you'll learn how to use Figma to do some of this stuff, because you see from the planning stage, once this is planned out, it goes into the design. Then you start trying to do the what's it called, the flows, start trying to do the interactions, start to do the prototyping. Once you're done with this, then a developer now goes ahead and start developing. Before now, you must have gone through the video on the channel that talks about software development lifecycle. The software development lifecycle tells us the process in which every product, every project is followed. There's a process. So a designer comes in hand, so to help deliver that project. Of course, users are all the persons that are going to be using the application. Then, of course, scenarios is you're looking at, for each user, they might have a slightly different scenario, right? Somebody might want to add, let's take for instance, somebody might want to add just one item and check out. So you see some designs that, or some websites or some e-commerce or some applications, somebody can just want to add 1 or 2 items. And the experience is now, can I kind of take away one product? And at times on a website is difficult. So that means you've given the person a poor experience. So you want a situation whereby I can add quantities, I can reduce the quantities at every stage of my order. So if I get to the last stage and I feel that, oh no, I think I don't have enough money, I want to reduce the one item of this, 3 items of this, and 1 item of this, can I still make that decision? So that is a scenario. And somebody else might not have that scenario. His own scenario might just be, I just want to add this and take it down to 0 or enter a coupon. So another scenario is that the person will need a coupon. So if you need a coupon or you're given a coupon, the question is, at what stage do you enter that coupon to purchase? So you see, it takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of testing, it takes a lot of, that's why in the process, you also find testing. So that's the slight difference between UI, UX. So you understand UI as the design itself. Then you talk about UX as the experience the person is going to have at the end of the day. So in clear terms now, designing the visual and interactive aspect of the product, such as the layout, typography, the color, interactive elements to create an attractive and intuitive interface. So the design just has to do with the graphics, the visuals. Of course, experience has to do with what? The overall experience of using the product. So if I'm going to use the banking app, if I'm going to use the software, if I'm going to use the website, if I'm going to use the product, if I'm going to use that cup, if I'm going to wear that shirt, what kind of experience for all the brand collaterals for a company, all the products, all the solutions of a company, what kind of experience am I going to have? Now, for experience, you want to ensure that the product meets the user designs and expectation. Now, the goal of the user design is to create a product that is visually appealing, easy to use, and meets the user needs and expectation. So, but the UX design also involves collaborative process between developers. Please watch the software development life cycle on the channel. It explains the connection between the designers, development, stakeholders like project manager, BA, business analyst, and all of these other professionals that helps to deliver a product. So UI, UX is essential for creating successful digital products, websites, mobile apps, software, by providing a seamless and enjoyable user experience. So if you see a product, if you see a solution that is just built without any consultation, without any research, without any involvement of different stakeholders, you see that most of the times it's going to be a very bad experience. So UI UX design principle includes user-centered design. So it's user-centric. So the user is considered in every aspect of the design process. The designers don't just start designing. At times a survey is carried out. Oh, we need to create a software for this, for this. Okay, what do you think about this? What is your experience? Which other softwares have you used? All of those kind of things. It's all centered on the user. That's why you see in halls, in banks, in institutions, in government agencies, and small businesses, there's always a feedback. That feedback, that slip that you're giving to have feedback is to help develop the service, is to help make the service better. Then some of the principles also is, or rather are consistency, simplicity, accessibility, flexibility, learnability, visual hierarchy. We're going to look at some of these things. The aesthetics, then of course, usability. These are the principles that should guide how UI and UX should be done. Now, we're going to break each of this stuff. So just understand that for you to do, and of course, there's quite a lot of other principles. With time, I'm going to like do some designs and explain to you each of these concepts in greater details. But now I want to do an overall introduction of the principles of design. So you have user-centric design. you have consistency, we've talked about this, right? So these are the principles that should guide your design. Now, let's look at some tools. If I'm going to become a UI UX designer, so what kind of tools should I be looking at? What kind of tools should I be looking at to learn? I just opened the Figma site, right? Figma.com. It's been a tool. It used to be the Adobe product. But with time, Figma have grown to become a very nice tool. It's free. There's a paid version, but you can start free. A very nice tool that designers can use to develop amazing stuff, right? Later on in the training, I'm going to showcase to you some designs that are done by Figma. You have some other tools like XD, right? So you can use this, it's web-based. You can use it to create user interfaces, mobile apps, digital designs. It's a collaborative tool also. I will sign into my Figma tool to explain some things to you too, so that you can see that I can be doing a design, and I can invite somebody that uses Figma to also co-collaborate or to collaborate on the design. Somebody can be doing a design and can give me permission, and I can see what the person is doing. We can collaborate, we can do meetings and all of that. So it helps so that we can work on the project simultaneously in real time. And of course, Figma has a very amazing feature. If I'm giving access, I can see live in real time when the person is actually doing all of those designs. I can see what the person is doing. That's the beauty of Figma. So somebody can be in Toronto, somebody can be in South Africa, somebody can be in China, somebody can be in Lagos, somebody can be in Abuja, somebody can be in Abu Dhabi, somebody can be in the UK, somebody can be anywhere in the world. And once I have access to that particular file, that particular design, while the person is working, I can see what the person is doing real life. I can also be working on other aspects of the designs. Let's say you have a website that has 10 pages. Two persons can be working on 2 pages, 2 persons can be working on 2 pages, 2 persons can be working on 2 pages, like that. And for every design as is being done, if you click on that particular design, you having access to it, you can see what the person is doing. So you have design libraries, you can prototype, you can comment, you can do version control. Version control has to do with you having different deliveries of a particular product. So you have something like version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4, version 5, like that. Because you can move from versions to versions as your client gives you feedback or as you do those research. Okay, so some of the tools. So these are some of the things that Figma offers. So by now, if you've watched this video, go ahead to figma.com and create an account, right? Go ahead and create an account, right? You can use it to do wireframes. Wireframe is like the structure, like the layout of your end design. So it's from wireframe, you now get low fidelity design, then you now get high fidelity design. So from wireframe, you get low fidelity designs. You now have high fidelity designs. We're going to look at all of that. But for now, go ahead to figma.com and create an account. Now, XD is another powerful tool. I've used Figma, I've used XD. So I somehow prefer XD, but as the time and the year goes by, so Figma have proven to be much more simplistic, much more, it's having more features, it's making it it's lightweight also. But understand that XD is a very powerful tool also. It's owned by Adobe. It's powerful design and prototyping tool that can be used by designers and product teams. You can use it to create highly interactive user experience, right? Okay, so that's about XD. So it's paid, so you should understand that. Now, the design process. So let's spend some time and look at what the design process is like. After this, we will look at a second set of video where we're going to be looking at researching user needs and behaviors. So, but let's end this very session by looking at the design process. So you can also check the channel for software development lifecycle. I will comment it in the description of this video. For you to do any design, one of the first things you want to do is to empathize. So you want to understand what the person or what the users might likely want to be delivered. A product designer do this. A BA also does this, right? So these are some of the overlapping skill set between a product designer, UI UX designer, and a business analyst. So both of them do what we call requirements gathering, right? So requirements gathering in the BABOK framework, that is business analysis body of knowledge, has to do with you trying to gather specifics onto the problems a client is facing, the problems probable users are going to be facing. So, and for you to do that, you need to empathize. You need to put yourself in the shoes of these persons. It's only when you do that, you can better understand what you are to do at the end of the day. If you skip this step and just start defining, your definition of the problems you want to solve by your design is going to be from your head. It's going to be from your own viewpoint. And that's going to be very wrong. So you need to make sure that your viewpoint is a combination of the viewpoints of all of the different actors, from sponsors to users to stakeholders or to your internal design teams, external design teams. You need to empathize. So that empathy is what is now going to help you define all of the list of items, right? It's not what's going to help you, sorry. It's also going to help you define all of the items you need to take care of. And once you've done that, you start ideating. You can have different flavors to this flow. Even after defining or before defining, you can do research. Research is going to be that these things that you've seen or you've atomized as a problem, you now want to go ahead and research on probable solutions that are existing. Now you want to develop on the solutions you already have, and you want to make sure that it is as unique as possible to your users that you're trying to solve their problems. So you now define. Once you define, next thing you want to now do is to start ideating. So you want to start thinking about, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And once you've ideated, it's a good time also to feedback. That's what we call agile software development, agile design process. So I'm going to do a separate video maybe to explain. I think you already have it in the software development lifecycle video where I differentiated between agile and waterfall. So agile is a design process where you do an iterative kind of process in your design. So you empathize, you define, you ideate, you go back to empathize, you define, you ideate, you prototype, you go back to define, you come to ideate, you prototype, you go back. So you're doing it back and forth to make sure that you have what we call an MVP and you scale your MVP. So your MVP is going to be your minimum viable product. Minimum viable product. So that minimum viable product helps you to deliver features that are functional and meet a functional version of that product. Let me give you a classical example. If you're going to use the agile process in delivering a building, I mean a duplex or a bungalow or let's say paint house, an agile process is going to be that you sketch, you start building, and at every stage, you make sure the client is giving you feedback. You don't necessarily need to do all the empathy. You don't need to do all the definition. You just start. You just start building, right? Then you must make sure that you can adjust as you're moving ahead. That's why you see in some projects, you're going to be told 5 revisions allowed. You're going to be told unlimited revisions allowed. That is the agile methodology. It then means that even once you've designed and prototyped, you can still go back and do some adjustments. The waterfall approach is going to be that we have to be done with this. Then we are done with this. Then we move to do this. We can't go back. So just a very straight. So that approach of doing projects is always not in vogue. But you see some very large-scale projects that can still go through that process. Then, of course, you want to prototype and you test. Okay, I think that's going to be the end of this very session. In this session, we looked at what UI UX design means. We looked at what are the different tools. We looked at the design process, and we looked at I'm also going to add and tell you that you have some technical skills and non-technical skills. Some of the technical skills are going to be you mastering your tools, you mastering the theory behind the design, you being able to critique designs based on design theory. Now, non-technical skills are going to be that you are able to empathize, you are able to ideate. Even ideation can be a technical skill. You can be able to you are patient enough, you have good communication skills. These are not technical skills. If you can't communicate as a designer, you're going to be doing 100 designs instead of just 5 designs, because you couldn't empathize, you couldn't properly define, you couldn't communicate with your user, with your boss, or with your team, or with stakeholders, or the users, or the sponsors. So communication skills come very handy. So I think maybe later on, I might do a video that has to properly differentiate, and with case studies, the technical skills and non-technical skills of a product designer. Okay, thank you very much. See you in the next series. In the next series, we're going to be looking at how do we start the process? How do we start researching? How do we start looking at user needs and behaviors? If you have questions, don't forget to ask in the comment section. Catch you.